Okay, going for a take. Take one. Action.
We are going for a take where we get the take of those who work in the film and TV industry on a specifically chosen film and about their time in the business.
Yep, and today's take is on the new horror film Speak No Evil. And this is your spoiler warning.
And in today's take, we're joined with Hollyoaks actor Ryan Mulvey.
Woo! Yes, hello. Thank you for having me on, boys.
It's
a pleasure.
It's a pleasure for you coming on, man. How you doing?
Thank you. No, I'm all good. Literally, I watched it right before this, so got myself down to the cinema.
Nice.
And yeah, it's a lot, but it's a bit.
What were your thoughts, bro?
It was. I loved it. So, well, actually, I'm not going to throw the word love around, but what was so good about it is I love all kind of like the foreshadowing or like that side of a film. So I'll just dive straight in with my favourite bit. So I liked how it was like a kind of a fox sewn throughout it. I don't know if you noticed that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know, that was actually my favourite thing about it. I don't know if it's like the English GCSE coming out of me, like saying the foreshadowing and whatnot. But so do you know when they go hunting and there's say like a fox came across and he couldn't do it and he kind of bottles it. And then it was like, oh, okay. And then obviously what the depiction of a fox is that it's kind of sneaky. You couldn't trust it. And that's a lot like James McAvoy in the film.
Yeah.
So that's what I really liked about it. That I kind of referred to him in my head as he's the fox and they're basically the prey. And it was kind of like that kept being brought up again. So like, I don't know what he called. Do you know the mate that helps basically like kill the other people?
Oh, the like,
spoiler,
chef
by the way,
dude.
spoiler. Chef dude.
Yeah.
He's not a chef. Spoiler. But this guy, and he was like, oh, you just like to play with your food. So it was like constantly throughout it, just like this fox kind of mentality. And like, and then at the very end, am I going to be doing this many spoilers? I feel like I'm going to be ruining this film for anyone out there. So I'm very sorry about this. But so do you know when you think it's kind of getting away, you always know something's going to be something wrong. And then you can hear like the bins kind of moving. Do you remember that bit at the end?
Yeah.
And then what pops out? A fox. So then I really liked that, and I was like, I just like that narrative of constantly that even as a person, he had the upper hand and he was the predator and they were the prey. So that was like what I loved them, kind of that imagery throughout the film.
I think it was the whole metaphor of the hunt. Like the hunt is the bit that's important, not the kill. Like for James McAvoy's character, it wasn't the killing that he was satisfied with, because there were so many opportunities where he could have killed them. So many. But he didn't, because he was just playing with his food. Like they were his food.
That's what he said as well. He was like, it's not he said it to him while hunting. He said, it's not the kill for me, it's the hunt. He likes playing with people. Like even when they were on that holiday resort, messing with that Danish guy, playing with him. You know, that's like the kind of character he is. He lowers people's defenses by charming them and making them laugh, and then he strikes. And he said so himself in interviews. That's like the sort of like favorite characters he enjoys playing.
Yeah.
You can see when, even when you're playing like a villain or someone nasty, if they're having fun with what they're doing, then as an actor, you're also kind of having fun with what you're doing too. Again, with the interviews and stuff, he talks about how it's like a lion or like a predator just looking for like, okay, they go to this holiday resort. He eyes up all the different potential prey that he has and sees this one dude, this very sort of emasculated, shoulders like across his body, kind of stuttering, just very like nervous, potential prey kind of guy. And he just spots him and he's like,
That's going to go in for the
that's
kill
my
for that
in.
one. Yeah.
And this family, this is...
The reason why that did so well is because the contrasting characters between James McAvoy's character and Scoot. Yeah.
Which is, I don't know, just a really cool name.
Yeah, I know. The contrast between the two is James McAvoy's character is a bad guy with a really good personality, and then the other character is a really good guy with a shit personality. And they sort of work hand in hand, because the good guy's trying to get the good personality and the bad guy's using that as like a lure.
Yeah, that's like, it's like everything he wants to being a man is kind of like James McAvoy's character. Yeah. And that's what's so kind of like alluring. That's why I thought why he wanted to go in so much. And that's why he loved this lifestyle of like, he's the man of, you know, he's in the wilderness. It's like, he can make the fire. It's like, he's got, you know, his wife, and it's like they still got this really intimate relationship, even though it's, what was something like 17 or I can't remember how many years they've been going out for. So obviously, and he's looking at this and he's had a tough time with his missus.
Yeah.
And he's thinking, he's like, oh my God, that is the man. That is the man who I kind of want to be. And it's kind of sad because that's probably why he stays a lot of the time. Or do you know when it's like his wife's got the bigger backbone than him.
Mm-hmm.
So like they'll be sat there and then she'll be like, no, just say to him like, basically like, go away. Like, I don't want to be near you, or like, don't talk to my child like that. But it's like, he doesn't have the strength to do it because he feels so like loved by this guy that he's probably never had before, or not for many years. And he's lost and it kind of like plays on masculinity so much.
Yeah.
Like, and it's like, this guy makes me feel like I'm a bit of like a tribe. Like, if I can do that, maybe my missus wouldn't do that. Or like, she went off strayed because she wanted more like this man. And it's like, in this society, no one really does stuff. Everyone's in cities. Like, if you can just get water from a tap, like, you don't really have to do much. So I just feel like it plays so much on the masculinity, which I really like that.
Yeah. James McAvoy did say in an interview, actually, no, I'm going to skip that part.
Yeah.
I feel like I know that.
Go on.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Moving on.
Well, the toxic masculinity was a big theme in that, because he was a completely toxic, arrogant character, and part of me was really hating him, because I'm like, you're playing with your food to the point where it's just cruel. Like, it's so cruel what he was doing. And that's why the film works so well, and why I enjoyed it so much, is because you just want it to be over with. You just want to go, just kill them. You can kill them now. You literally, they're in your house.
But then even the other way as well, that they could just leave as well.
And that's the thing.
That's the thing. It's not like they were ever prisoners until the very end. It was like they could just leave and they could just kill. And it was like, oh, this is like, what is this game?
And he let them go, and then he threw the kid into the pond, and then the guy and then
it's like playing on someone's heartstrings, or like their morality of a person.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, if you can just watch the kid die, then yeah, go.
Yeah.
But I know you can't do that, so come back here and I'll kill you.
Well, there's like those two lines, which is like just right at the end, both in the original film and in this one, which is like, why are you doing this? Because you let me. So it kind of plays on those like that passivity and that sort of politeness that like society has, particularly if you're sort of you have this guy who thinks he's like this sort of alpha male, whatever kind of bullshit that is, and has all those qualities that a traditional male role model might have. And then you have these people who are more, caring in their qualities and stuff like that. And then it makes you really think about like, if they had more strength within their own morals, and if they stood up more for their caring nature, then they wouldn't have let him do the things that he did to them. Do you know what I mean? It makes me think like, have you guys been in situations too where, someone said something and you kind of don't want to say anything, but you're like, that didn't sit well with me, or you think about it like after and you go, I probably should have said something because it affected my values, but I also didn't want to come across as, I don't know, rude or, stand out, I guess.
Because you're in their house, you're their guest.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to criticize someone else's parenting, but at the same time, dashing bread or a potato, whatever it is, at your kid to get them to dance is a bit extreme. But I think that all stems from his childhood. And I remember him talking about, James McAvoy talking about the character's childhood in an interview, or being like, he wanted to be the right role model for his kid because he never had it from his dad. So he was so critical out of everything because he wanted his kid to be perfect, because he felt like he was perfect. And if his kid wasn't, then he'd be fractured. Mm-hmm. Because,
No, I was going to say, but I feel like deep down, how I took it is he probably didn't think he is perfect. I don't know. Or if they were so clear or were so happy with themselves, I don't think anyone would ever act like that. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like when people say something is due to a fact of what they feel or how they've been brought up. So if someone was just so clear of mind and so happy with themselves, why do you have to go and kill someone for a little thrill? Like, there's clearly something very, very wrong with him.
Yeah.
There's a particular scene where he literally looks physically in pain. It's the one where he's watching his kid in the cowboy hat dancing badly. Yeah. And, he's smiling when he looks back at the other dinner guests, and then he looks back at the kid and he's like, he looks like he's about to cry. Yeah. Like, it doesn't look so much like anger and rage as it's like trauma, like something like welling up inside him. And the only way that you can like suppress that is to like go and sort out this kid. I don't know why I'm shaking, their coffee's just hit. But like sort this out. Like, the only way you can take control of all the whatever the shit that's happened to him in the past and the traits that he's taken on from his abusive father is to like try and control this kid. It's in no way excusing any of the behavior that he's done, because he's an awful villainous, like malevolent character.
Yeah.
But then I do like the way that he thought about what are the motives and what are the reasons.
Because like a lot of people who have watched the film, they also like talked about why couldn't the father be more alpha male, more masculine, and I think it was the director, what's he called,
James Watkins.
James Watkins. He said no, and the writer as well. They basically said they wanted to portray this family in this way because it pretty much reflects real life, you know. And when he's doing all these horrible things and no one is stepping in to stop it, and then they ask, why are you doing this? And he responds, because you let me.
I feel like that hit so hard.
Yeah.
I don't know. For me, it was like, obviously you hate McAvoy's character because obviously he's evil of what he's doing. But then because he is so charming and charismatic, it's like, sometimes you liked him. But it was like, oh, I can see how you could fall in the trap so easily. Of being like, especially if you were having a hard time and this guy makes you feel really special. You're like, oh. And then you go, and then it's like, and the bit that really killed me was, do you know, when he just, at the very end, when the dad has the chance with the shotgun, like just over him. And I was there, I was like, shoot him, bro. But then, and he doesn't. And that was, but I feel like that was impactful because it's like the way the world, everyone's so, like, I don't know, such people pleasers. It's like even then he couldn't do it, and all that had happened to his family. And it was like, I don't know, did it sit with you like, oh, he was too scared to do it, or he was just more, had respect for himself? Like, I don't know how to think of it.
I think he was second guessing himself. I think his instinct was saying shoot, but his mind was saying don't, because what's right and what's wrong in his morals. And James McAvoy's character didn't have morals, it was just extreme. And the film is literally called Speak No Evil. Like, speak no evil. And if you're not saying the bad things, then what happens? You get away with things, you let things slide. And that's why, like, the whole film, in my opinion, was like a metaphor. The silence in the film was a metaphor for the things we don't say.
And I'd say
I
that
hadn't thought about that.
Yeah,
That's really
that's
interesting.
I'd say that best like reflects society as well now. Like, you see all these bad things happening, like even in the street.
Yeah.
And people, instead of like interfering and trying to stop it, trying to help, they'd rather pull out their phone and record it and post on social media. And I think that's like the main message that this film was about.
And it also played on, because it's so true, when you're saying like, oh, everyone has this fake identity they do. Like, do you know, because Instagram is obviously everyone's just like best bits in it. It's no one like, you're not going to be posting when you're having like a really down day.
Yeah.
You're feeling rubbish about yourself. You're not going to be like, oh, that's interesting. You pick when you're say like with all your mates, I don't know, you've got a bit of a pump on from the gym, so you feel really good, do you know what I mean? Yeah. So, and then it blows up and it's like, oh, but people just aren't real now. Like, and what's so sad, obviously, like you can text your mate, but it's never going to be the same with just like sat here talking to someone face to face, because you can get the vibe of a person and like what you say, like their morals. And then it's like, because we're so scared to say anything now, it's like no one can literally just be, not even intimate like with, say, someone you've, in a relationship wise, just intimate in like friendships.
It's like censoring each other.
It's true. Yeah, I've found that there's, I don't know, certain friendships that I've had in the past where, like, because people's opinions are now integrated with their identity, like, it's quite tricky to have a discussion with people where I can sort of talk about something that I'm thinking about. I'm aware that, you know, it might be what the other person, they might be thinking the opposite. I don't want to potentially ruin a friendship because of this thought. It's just a thought. There's no like, you know, identity behind it, but it does mean that there's a passivity and there's no speaking about evil and certain things going on. There's a censorship. Even as we do the podcast, we talk about, okay, what are we safe to say and all that kind of stuff. It's just a really interesting thing to think about when it comes to being artists as well. And we have a platform.
And I think that comes from like the fear of offending, not knowing how to communicate properly, I think is like the main issue for for most people.
Yeah,
for
and that comes
sort
from a
of
good
stuff.
place. It's just like caring and being kind to one another.
Yeah, it's like such a fine line, isn't it? It's like you never want to be to upset someone at all, but then it's like then you don't also want to be kind of walking ice on like eggshells around someone. So it's such a difficult. I know that's life, innit? So that's the interesting bit as well.
Yeah.
But it's so hard, especially nowadays. Like it's like, oh, what is okay? Like, do you know what I mean?
And I think the most interesting conversations I've had with people are the ones where people have completely different viewpoints on something.
Oh yeah.
Because then you go back and forth and you understand perspectives of why people are thinking this. And then your mind sort of shifts as well. And you go, actually, okay, well, I've thought this before, but now it's a bit of both. And that's important. And this film is the complete opposite to that. It's one person doing that and one family doing that and another family not doing that. And the two families' chemistries, that rivaling in terms of one's the supposed role model, but an extreme version of that where it's really like hyper intense and it's wrong. And the other one being a nice family, but they're just a bit boring. Like they're a boring family.
It's like it's like you can take things from the others. It's like you say, it was like kind of like polar opposites. It's like, oh, I really liked some of the London family. It's like, but then personally, I would never want to be like that. But then I'd also admire some of that, the McAvoy, just like the flamboyancy or like just that they've got this lovely house in in nature and then they do all these things. It's like, I'd love to do that. But then it's like, no way would I want start doing all that. So what, do you know what I mean? So it's like interesting. It's like, little bits of what you'd want to take and like what's relatable.
Did you guys think that there were any sort of, do you think the cultural differences between the Americans and the English were like noticeable? Because the director, when he's talking about the original as well, which is by Christian Taftrup, I think is how you pronounce his surname. They talk a lot about the cultural differences because in the original it's Danish and Dutch, and then obviously American and English in that, and they wanted to play on that. I don't know if that came across.
James McAvoy's character, he was English but living in America, wasn't it?
No, he was like in the Cotswolds or something, some like fancy.
Was it? Well, he loved guns.
I might be wrong, to be fair.
He loved
France,
guns. He loved guns, but the American family who were living in London didn't.
Yeah.
So I guess it's like the two. I guess like cultural preferences is a choice. I guess it's not necessarily what you're raised with. I guess it's like how you choose to let it influence you.
And it's your surroundings as well. Like when you live in London or even Manchester, like you know your neighbours, but you don't know them. When you live somewhere so suburban, so out of like in the middle of nowhere, your neighbours might be 5 kilometers away, but you know them because they're the only people nearby. When everyone's when it's so dense.
And there's so many people, it's like you're more alone sometimes.
Exactly. There's so many people and yet you're alone. But when there's little people, you know them better. Like for example, when I go see my gran and granddad, they live in a little village in Scotland. Everyone knows each other from church on a Sunday.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy. And that I like that.
I feel like we've lost that definitely as a generation, like communities.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's so sad that people don't really put time and effort into like making kind of like a clan or like your family. It's like it is because my family's really close, so I've got like a big Irish family.
Yeah.
So a lot of the time they come over, or just even on Christmas we just have like a massive Christmas party, and that's always my favorite thing. But when sometimes I talk to my mates, they'll be like, oh no, literally like don't really enjoy sitting with mum and dad. Like I don't enjoy doing that. I know not obviously everyone, but like sometimes they're like, like. I love doing that. I love hearing their stories. They're worse for drinking than me. Like they're mental, but love them to bits.
I think the one takeaway that I got from the film, which I'll remember now for the rest of my life, is when you make friends on holiday, keep them on holiday. Don't see them again.
Very holiday romance.
Exactly. Just keep that romance on
Very
holiday.
true. Yeah.
Yeah. What was everyone else's just general take then, just to summarize?
General take, basically the message of how the message of like how much detached we are as people, as a society, from not helping and being too scared to do anything, I don't know. Sorry, I'm trying to think
I
of
have
something.
faith in you,
but,
bro. Yeah.
I feel it coming.
You're about to hit the assist. Come on. You got
Basically,
this.
how we as a society are too scared to influence or help, as we're too scared to offend.
What about you, dude?
I like the idea of that the grass isn't always greener. And even, especially like say what social media, or just even when you look at say a couple on your, or like a family, like, oh, I wish I was like them. But when you get to know them, or especially in the film, when you get to know this family that seem perfect, they're all but it. And then you're like, oh, I'm actually really lucky. In my situation I am. And it's like, I've got an amazing people around me, or like I am enough. And it's like how people are so easily influenced. So I like that idea.
What about you, Matt?
I'm still kind of like taken back by what you said about, I didn't clock the title and the punnery on like speak no evil. Again, I just thought about it literally because the kid literally can't speak about the evil that he's witnessing and being, I don't know, the abuse that he's witnessing and all that kind of stuff. I didn't think about how, again, the sort of the take it has on society and how we don't speak about evil because, excuse me, get emotional sometimes, because we want to be polite and we want to not offend and we want to be caring. They all come from good places. But I'd say a takeaway from me is to speak up about more stuff like that and speak your values, and then open up a conversation about that too.
Yeah. I think like comparison in the film, comparison is the thief of joy, as the saying goes. And you can compare all you like, but they're such individual families and they've both got their issues. And when you compare like that, it just ruins people, ruins them. And you see the deterioration in the film and how their family fall apart. And man, I really like that film. I thought it was a good film. I mean, James McAvoy's James McAvoy, man.
Absolute Don.
Absolutely, literally, man.
Do you see how ripped he was? Absolutely.
He got shredded for Split and then just kept it.
He was wham.
Innit, man.
Oh, one thing I will say just before we finish up, go watch the Danish version. I know I've mentioned it a few times to you guys. It is brutal. It is dark. There's no comedy in it compared to this American version. It's so heavy. It's so heavy. It's on Shudder. You can get a free trial on Prime. Dude, you guys need to watch it too.
I know.
It's so
That's
good.
what I'm going to do tomorrow. And that's a wrap for part 1.
Beautiful.